last few months, we've been working on the exterior of our 1978 SeaCamper, and we're finally at the point where we're ready to move forward to the interior. If you're new to our channel, I'm Danielle, this is Tommy, and today we are cutting into Coosa board for the first time to begin the repairs on the stringers. I wasn't sure which way you were going to turn it. We're excited to share that this episode is sponsored by Boat Outfitters. They sent us 4 pieces of Blue Water 26 Coosa board, and we're excited to work with this material for the first time. A few reasons that we went with Coosa board instead of marine plywood for our stringers is it's about 30% lighter than plywood, and there's essentially no rot with this. So if water were to ever penetrate the stringers for some reason, it's not gonna rot. We're not gonna have the same issues that this boat had, and we're essentially making it better than it was.
It's a forever fix.
It's a forever fix. Over the last week, Tommy has been cleaning out the old stringers and anything that would potentially make it hard for new glass to lay down. So part of this month and kind of our pace that is set is because we ordered a freshwater tank, and the one we ordered won't get here for 3 weeks. So Tommy went ahead and made a template of our tank, which sits between the stringers.
This tank is going to be a lot bigger than the one originally in the SeaCamper.
The dimensions of it are 55 inches long, 26 inches wide, and 6 inches tall. It's a 28-gallon freshwater tank.
These are the templates that I made just so we can get all the right measurements and figure out a way to have zero waste when we cut the Coosa. So the stringers that we're replacing are 9 feet. How they did it before is they joined them together with another piece of plywood, and we're doing the same thing just because some engineer came up with this and we don't want to mess with the recipe. So we're gonna join the Coosa stringers out there and then bring them in, get them in place. We made these cool guides so when we lay the stringers in, we can keep them perfectly parallel until they're tapped in. But just to help out in the beginning.
Okay, so what are we doing?
Start cutting the Coosa.
Coosa board is a high-density closed-cell polyurethane foam, and it's reinforced with continuous strand fiberglass. So you can kind of see inside of it that there's fiberglass strands woven through it, which gives it its rigid integrity. Second stringer, cut. Oh, well, technically, it's not the whole stringer, but the second portion. So this remainder piece of Coosa is going to be used for a few of the bulkheads that we need to repair before we can put the stringers in. Okay, our first bulkhead that we're repairing cut out. Looks good.
Looks great.
In this episode, you will mainly see us working with 1708 biaxial fiberglass cloth. This was our first attempt at using epoxy resin and 1708 cloth, and we were slightly surprised about the amount of resin needed to properly saturate this thicker cloth.
We're in it today doing less than we thought we were going to do, but we ended up redesigning the bulkheads completely, so that's what absorbed most of the day. Stringers are cut, bulkheads are cut. One side of these bulkheads are glassed in because once they're tabbed in, we won't be able to access this side, so we figured we'd do that tonight, let these cure, and then tomorrow we'll actually put them in.
Sounds good. Yeah.
All right, we'll see you guys tomorrow. More peanut buttery. So we've changed up our plan a little bit. Originally we were going to use an epoxy resin to wet out our fiberglass and then glass and the stringers. After a few tests and trials on wetting out the 1708, we just started to worry a little bit about how difficult it might be to use the very thick epoxy in such long lengths of cloth that we have to wet out. So we pivoted and we decided to go with a polyester resin. The main thing is though, it's easier to wet out with polyester resin. And for our first time doing stringers, that was a big part of why we wanted to make the switch. So we just took a little bit of a break while we waited for the 2 bulkheads we put in to set. We're gonna finish off the day by putting the stringers in. The same way we just did the bulkhead, so mixing up a peanut butter-like polyester thickened resin. Yeah, we're just gonna get after it. I'm gonna mix up 2 batches, about 10 ounces each. What we're adding into the resin to thicken it, this is silica thickener, and then milled glass fiber, which is milled glass fiber.
Yeah, it's just to give it structure. You should wear a mask using this because you'll see all the dust in the video.
Making thickened resin intimidated us before we just jumped into it, mainly because after hours of researching it, there didn't seem to be an exact recipe for this peanut butter-like mixture. So this is how we did it. First, pour the desired amount of resin you want to use, catalyze the resin per the instructions of your resin, mix resin and catalyst together. In small increments, add cabosil, also known as silica thickening powder, and you can also add milled glass fiber to increase strength and flexibility to the mixture. Mix thoroughly and continue to gradually add the silica powder until you achieve a peanut butter-like consistency or thickness.
This is what we're looking for consistency-wise.
Later in this video, you will see that we switched to mixing larger batches of thickened resin with a drill attachment instead of the popsicle stick because that gets pretty tiring after a while.
So just kind of lay it in here,
Yeah.
like this.
Yep. Thick it. We're gonna have it really thick.
Because this was our first time working with resins in such large amounts, we almost always undershot how much we were mixing up, which slowed down the process a bit. We didn't want to waste large quantities of product from them firing off too quickly, so in the early stages of the stringer repairs, there was a big learning curve.
We want to make sure they're where we want them on the bulkheads. Finished putting in the stringers, you can't see them because Tommy's put up all these styrofoam boards and there's a heater running in there, all to try and contain heat so that the polyester resin cures a little better.
It went well. It took a while.
Learning experience.
Learning experience. We used a lot more polyester resin than we thought we would, but that makes sense.
And a lot more silica.
Yeah, so for every gallon of resin, I think we used like 5 quarts of silica.
So tomorrow, Tommy's gonna go in and do all the routing on the Coosa board.
Get those edges smooth so the glass can lay properly.
And then the goal on Monday would be to do 1 stringer and completely get that fiberglass in, and then I think we'll be out of resin. But on that note, it is super fumey in here and we're done for the day, so we will see you tomorrow.
Yep.
So we just got back from an early Christmas celebration with our family, and today is actually Christmas Eve, and we're back in the shop and just getting after the rest of the stringer repair. A guy on one of the boat building groups on Facebook was nice enough to share his layout plan, and we liked it a lot. So this is the layout plan that we're doing. Disregard the letters because our lettering is different. We're essentially doing layer C as our first layer B as our second, and then layer A as our third, and it'll match that on the other side. The dark spot is the fillet. When you're laying fiberglass cloth, you don't want to go straight into a 90-degree angle. So this is that peanut butter mixture that we were making. We're gonna squeeze into that crease and then lay fiberglass over it and smooth it out. I was struggling at cutting fiberglass cloth with regular scissors, so I went ahead and bought some electric scissors, and that's made a huge difference. So now we're gonna mix up some peanut butter and start laminating the stringers. We've never done this before, just like most things that we're doing with this boat. We've watched a lot of videos on different techniques and different layups and everything. So we're just gonna kind of go with it and see how it goes. How big of pots do you want me to mix up?
Big pot.
After spreading the resin with a popsicle stick when we were bedding the stringers in place, we decided to buy piping bags, usually used for baking, to apply the thickened resin to the hull, which worked out much better. We ended up going heavier on the fillet here because the angle where the hull meets the stringer is pretty acute, and we noticed with less fillet, the cloth didn't want to lay easily without air bubbles or pockets. Once the fillet was in, Tommy started wetting out the Coosa board and the hull, and I started wetting out the 1708 cloth, and then rolled up the cloth neatly to bring into the boat. We had to take a break from filming the first stringer to focus and get a handle on what we were actually doing, so we'll skip forward to the last piece of the layup.
We're about to put on the last piece of 1708 cloth on the stringers. So we've done 2 layers over here, 2 layers over here. Bulkheads are tabbed in, and then this piece will wrap from this side to this side. Just finished completely glossing in the starboard stringer, and we both agree that this was way harder than we thought it was going to be. I don't know why we thought it would go faster. I think we started at like what, 12, Tommy?
Yeah.
And it's past 8 o'clock. And we did take like an hour lunch break, but still, wow. Learned a lot. You don't realize how much work this is until you're like in the thick of it. And you're trying to get all the air bubbles out, and it feels like an endless chase. But we did it.
We did.
I mean, it looks really good. I'll take some videos tomorrow to show like how nice it looks, but
It looks great. It's just, I'm tired.
I know.
That was non-stop.
and we got into several fights.
Yeah, I
Like
mean,
a lot of fights.
it's really hard. We've both never done it before. It took like probably the 3rd lamination to kind of get a roll going.
Yeah. We'll see you guys not tomorrow because tomorrow's Christmas. We'll see you guys the next day, and we're gonna finish this stringer job. Why is there all this stuff on my clothes?
You're dusty. You're a sticker.
It's day 2 of us doing the stringers.
Day 2, final day.
But today we're just focusing on getting that port side stringer glassed in.
Yeah, 5 layers, once again.
I learned that that's called lamination schedule.
Ooh, I like that. Lamination schedule.
Today should go smoother than the first day we did. It's not that the first day didn't go super smooth, it's just like was our first time doing it, so there was a lot that we had to learn throughout the process.
Let's do it all again.
We're gonna stay friends through the whole process.
Always, forever. It's hard. We just have to be on the same team.
We gotta mesh.
We gotta assemble, yeah. We gotta be one superhuman. I think that's our way to success, is meshing.
Thank you.
We repeat the same steps on the port side stringer, use the piping bags to squeeze fillet in the crack where the hull and the stringer meet, wet out the substrate, wet out the cloth, and then we can put the cloth in place and begin laminating it with the polyester resin. I would say the second stringer was definitely easier for us, and you can kind of tell while watching this that we're a lot more comfortable, and a lot of those early jitters while doing the first stringer were gone by this point.
All right, we're on the second half of the port side stringer, so we're almost done today. It's a lot of back and forth, so it's hard to record it, but we're doing the best we can. And we're running a little short on resin, so we need this to last for the rest of the day. I hope we have enough, man. We're completely done with this one. You ready for this?
Alright, so we got 2 layers on each side of the stringer, and now we're doing the final layer, overhanging the top and covering the 2 seams on each side.
Tappy King. Bold Tippy Tappy.
We are finally done for today. Oh, it's like a marathon, but we're finally done. Now we can finally clean up, take off our mask, and we just let this dry out. We're gonna turn on the heater in here, let it bake a little bit. See you on the other side.
Now we're just waiting for our fresh water tank to come in, which should be here any day. We're kind of in that in-between time between Christmas and New Year's Eve, so there's a lot of shipping delays is what we're experiencing. Once the fresh water tank comes in, we can keep moving forward, and we should be fairly close to foaming and putting our deck on, so stay tuned.